September 14, 1996. 8:42 p.m. A quiet screening room on the Fox lot, Los Angeles. The air is cool in that particular way studio rooms always are, overconditioned, faintly metallic, smelling of carpet cleaner and coffee that's been reheated too many times. The movie has just ended. Credits are rolling, white letters on black, names moving upward in a strict, unspoken order everyone in the room understands without ever discussing. No one speaks yet. The star doesn't clap. He doesn't lean back. He doesn't smile. Instead, he keeps watching the screen long after most people would have stopped paying attention. His name appears exactly where it was contractually guaranteed to appear. Same size, same spacing, same position it's occupied for years. Above some names. Below others. From the outside it looks perfect. Inside his chest something is wrong. He doesn't feel angry, that would be easier. He doesn't feel slighted either, no betrayal, no insult. What he feels instead is quieter and far more unsettling, a sense that this placement no longer belongs to him. You can almost feel the tension in the room when the lights come up. Assistants shift. A junior executive clears his throat, someone mentions box office tracking numbers, another person jokes about awards season. The star nods politely, he listens, he thanks people, he plays the role he's played flawlessly for over a decade. Then, when the room thins out and the conversation drifts toward logistics, he turns to his agent, not urgently, not dramatically. Just calmly. Can we talk about the credits? The agent freezes for half a second. Not because the request is outrageous, but because this request never comes without consequences. He doesn't ask to be first billed. He doesn't ask for a card. He doesn't ask for his name above the title. He asks for something far stranger. I want it moved. The agent blinks, moved where? A pause. Down. Not buried, not minimized, just shifted. A few lines, a different relationship to the names around it. The agent studies him, searching for emotion, ego, insecurity, frustration. There's none. What he sees instead is resolve, the kind that doesn't argue. You know what this does, right? The agent asks carefully. The star nods, of course he knows. In Hollywood, billing is not typography, it's taxonomy. It tells the industry who carries weight, who anchors a project, who still needs validation, and who no longer does. To ask for less visibility is not humility, it's defiance of a system that equates presence with power. Studios don't hear requests like this emotionally, they hear them structurally. Why would someone give up symbolic ground unless they were either losing leverage or intentionally stepping out of the game? The agent makes the call anyway, quietly, professionally. No email, no paper trail, just a conversation with a studio lawyer who has handled hundreds of these negotiations and instantly understands the gravity of what's being asked. There's a long silence on the other end. Is he unhappy? The lawyer finally asks. No, the agent says, he's finished. Not finished as in done, finished as in complete. That distinction matters more than anyone in that moment realizes. The studio agrees, of course they do. On paper, nothing has been violated. The contract allows flexibility. The change costs nothing, no money moves, no press is alerted, no meeting is called. And yet, something irreversible has just happened. Because from this point forward, every executive who sees that credit placement will ask the same silent question. Why didn't he protect it? Hollywood runs on patterns. Stars fight to climb billing ladders. They threaten lawsuits over font size, they negotiate weeks over whose name appears first in international markets. So when someone steps back without being pushed, it breaks the pattern. It creates uncertainty. Uncertainty is dangerous in an industry addicted to predictability. Over the next few weeks, nothing obvious changes. The film opens strong, reviews are solid, interviews go smoothly. The star smiles on red carpets, he says all the right things. But behind closed doors, conversations shift. He's not playing the game anymore. Is he planning to disappear? Does he think he's untouchable now? No one asks him directly. Hollywood rarely confronts, it observes, it recalibrates. Offers still come in, but differently. Fewer package deals, more interest checks, meetings that feel like feelers instead of commitments. The star notices, of course he does. But for the first time in his career, he doesn't chase the shift, he doesn't correct it, he doesn't reassure anyone. Instead, he slows. Not dramatically, not publicly. He stops returning calls immediately. He lets scripts sit unopened for weeks. He declines projects he would have said yes to without even reading 5 years earlier. From the outside, it looks like confidence. From the inside, it's something else entirely. It's fatigue. For years, his name placement had been a shield, proof of relevance, leverage, safety. Now, without that armor, he feels strangely lighter and strangely exposed. The moved credit wasn't about billing at all. It was the first visible sign of an invisible decision to stop organizing his life around how the industry sees him. And Hollywood, sensing the withdrawal, begins its own quiet test. Because the industry never asks, why did he step back? It asks something far more revealing. How much does he still need us? The answer hasn't arrived yet. But it's coming. October 3, 1996. 11:17 a.m. A corner office overlooking Century City. The assistant has already checked the schedule twice. 3 calls are waiting, 2 producers, 1 studio head, all marked time sensitive, all expecting a response within the hour. None of them get one. The star is at home instead, barefoot on cold tile, coffee untouched on the counter. The script on the table hasn't been opened. He knows what's inside, he always does. He's read versions of this story his entire career. Different settings, different costumes, same emotional math. Be present, be reliable, be grateful. That's the deal Hollywood offers before it ever offers money. For years he honored it. He showed up early, he stayed late, he made notes sound like collaboration. He absorbed pressure quietly because pressure was the admission fee to relevance. But now, after that single line in the credits moved, something subtle has shifted inside him. A small but decisive refusal has taken root. He doesn't want to be reachable anymore. This is the part no one sees, the internal negotiation that happens long before careers change publicly, long before headlines or hiatus announcements. You can almost hear it inside his head. If I don't answer, what happens? The industry trains performers to believe absence equals danger. Miss 1 call and you're difficult, miss 2. And you're unreliable, miss 3 and you're replaced. But something unexpected happens. Nothing. The calls get rescheduled. The emails soften. The urgency diffuses. A producer leaves a message that sounds oddly deferential. Another asks the agent, is now a bad time? That question lands differently. For the first time, they're not assuming access, they're requesting it. Hollywood doesn't react to defiance, it reacts to patterns breaking. And the pattern breaking now isn't loud, it's not a strike or a statement, it's simply this: the star is no longer organizing his nervous system around everyone else's expectations. Inside the studios, this triggers a quiet recalculation. Executives begin to wonder whether he's tired or strategic, whether he's stepping back to renegotiate power or stepping away for good. And uncertainty again creeps in. Uncertainty changes behavior. Meetings get shorter, offers get more flexible. Creative control becomes something they volunteer instead of something he has to demand. But here's the uncomfortable truth the video lingers on. This isn't about leverage yet. It's about survival. Years of constant availability have taken a toll no box office number can measure. The pressure to remain easy has hollowed something out. The smile still works, the charm still lands, but internally he's been living in a permanent state of readiness, always anticipating the next request, the next compromise, the next moment he has to prove he still deserves the space he occupies. Stepping back isn't rebellion. It's triage. The industry, however, doesn't read it that way. They begin to talk. He's recalibrating. He's testing the waters. He might be done. Each interpretation says more about Hollywood than it does about him. Because the system isn't built to reward restraint, it's built to extract momentum until something breaks. And right now nothing is breaking. Which is exactly what makes everyone uneasy. By December, the pause becomes noticeable, not publicly but in the rooms that matter, fewer attachments, fewer automatic assumptions that he'll anchor a project just by existing. Some see this as a weakening. Others see something more dangerous. A star who no longer needs constant affirmation is unpredictable. A performer who stops protecting symbols may stop protecting expectations. And Hollywood fears only one thing more than failure: autonomy. The question hanging in the air now isn't whether he'll come back stronger. It's whether the industry still knows how to handle him if he does. Because the longer the silence stretches, the clearer one thing becomes. The credit move wasn't the pause. It was the signal. The pause is still unfolding. January 19th, 1997. 7:06 p.m. A private dining room, Beverly Hills. The room is warm, low-lit, designed for conversations that aren't meant to travel. No assistants, no notebooks, just three executives and the star seated around a table that has hosted decades of power quietly rearranging itself. No one mentions the credit. No one mentions the pause. They talk about tone, about where the industry is headed, about how audiences are changing. But underneath every sentence is the same unspoken assessment. What do you want now? The star listens more than he speaks. When he does speak, it's slower, more precise. He doesn't pitch, he doesn't sell himself, he doesn't reassure them that he's still hungry. That absence is louder than confidence. You can almost feel the executives adjusting in real time. They're used to actors over-explaining, telegraphing eagerness, signaling flexibility, proving they're still in the game. He does none of that. Instead, he asks questions about directors, about schedules, about why certain films get rushed and others are protected. The dynamic shifts. This isn't a negotiation, it's a reconnaissance. And Hollywood understands reconnaissance. After dinner, one executive lingers behind. He speaks carefully, as if choosing the wrong phrasing might expose too much. You know, he says, people are trying to figure you out. The star smiles, not defensively, not playfully. Let them. That response travels faster than any press release. Because in an industry built on manageability, being unreadable is a form of leverage no contract can guarantee. The offers that follow reflect this recalibration. Fewer roles but better ones, longer development periods, more space between commitments. Some projects stall when he doesn't immediately attach. Others suddenly reshape themselves to fit his availability. He's no longer orbiting the system. The system is beginning, slowly, reluctantly, to orbit him. But here, the tension the story doesn't romanticize. This shift comes with isolation. Peers stop calling casually, invitations thin out. He's no longer the dependable presence everyone builds around, he's the variable. And variables are lonely. There are moments late at night scrolling through old call sheets, remembering the comfort of being needed, when doubt creeps in. Did I miscalculate? Was the credit move arrogance disguised as exhaustion? Hollywood doesn't provide feedback when you step back, it provides silence. And silence forces confrontation with ego, with fear, with the parts of yourself that confused visibility with worth. This is where many careers quietly collapse. Because stepping away reveals something terrifying. If you're not constantly visible, who are you for? The star sits with that question longer than most. Months pass, the pause stretches. Then unexpectedly a script arrives. Not a blockbuster, not a franchise, a strange, restrained story no studio believes in enough to rush. The director is respected but difficult. The role is smaller than what he used to command, but deeper. The agent hesitates before passing it along. This one's different. The star reads it in one sitting. And for the first time in years, he feels something other than obligation. He feels chosen, not by the industry but by himself. That decision to say yes to something that doesn't reinforce status confirms what the moved credit started. This pause isn't temporary. It's directional. And Hollywood is about to realize that the power they thought he surrendered was never the one that mattered. March 11, 1997. 5:38 a.m. A quiet kitchen, pre-dawn light barely touching the counters. The house is still, no assistants calling, no schedule taped to the fridge, just the low hum of the refrigerator and the faint sound of traffic waking up miles away. This is the part no one applauds. The part after the recalibration, before the reward. The star stands alone with a cup of coffee, staring at nothing in particular, and feels the weight of what he's chosen. Not regret, something heavier, responsibility. Because when you stop letting the system define you, there's no one left to blame when the silence stretches too long. Days go by without calls, not because he's irrelevant, but because people are unsure how to approach him now. He's no longer the safe yes. He's no longer the automatic anchor. And safety is Hollywood's favorite currency. Inside agencies, his name is discussed carefully. He won't jump. He needs space. He might pass. Those phrases shift how projects are assembled. Producers build without him, then circle back later, tentative, respectful, cautious. This is what autonomy costs. You can almost feel the internal tug-of-war, the instinct to reinsert yourself, to remind people you're still here, still valuable, still cooperative. He resists it. Not out of pride, out of self-preservation. The emotional fatigue that drove the credit move resurfaces in quieter ways now. He sleeps longer, reads more, avoids industry dinners. For the first time since his early career, his calendar contains unassigned days. And with that freedom comes something dangerous. Perspective. He begins to see how much of his previous momentum was fueled by fear. Fear of being forgotten, fear of losing leverage, fear of disappointing people who benefited from his availability. That realization stings. Because it means the industry didn't take from him. He gave. Voluntarily, repeatedly, with a smile. This isn't a condemnation of Hollywood, it's an acknowledgement of how systems work. They expand to fill whatever access you provide. By late spring, the script he accepted enters rehearsals. The scale is smaller, the crew tighter, the expectations quieter. On set, something shifts. He's not treated like a machine, he's treated like a collaborator. There's time, there's discussion, there's silence between takes that isn't filled with urgency. It reminds him of why he started. And the industry notices, not through gossip but through outcomes. The film takes shape slowly, carefully. The performance deepens in ways his recent work hadn't allowed. When early footage circulates, reactions are immediate but restrained. This is different. He's changed. He's not chasing anything anymore. That last comment spreads. Not chasing is dangerous. Because it suggests choice. By the time the film premieres quietly, no massive campaign, no oversized expectations, the narrative around him has subtly transformed. He's no longer described as reliable. He's described as selective. That single word carries enormous weight. Selective implies boundaries. Boundaries imply power. Power implies that the pause wasn't weakness, it was consolidation. The credit he moved months earlier now reads differently in retrospect. What once looked like a retreat begins to look like a declaration. But there's one final shift still coming, one that will confirm whether this pause truly redefined his standing or merely delayed an inevitable return to the same patterns. And it will happen not on a set, not at an awards show, but in a room where decisions are made without applause. Type continue to generate the next section. Section 5, The Quiet Confirmation. July 22, 1998. 2:14 p.m. A glass-walled conference room, high above Sunset Boulevard. The meeting isn't about a film. That's the first clue. No scripts on the table, no one is pitching him a role. Instead, there are budget outlines, scheduling grids, and a single question hovering over everything. Would you consider anchoring this if it's built around your terms? This is new. Hollywood rarely leads with flexibility, it usually leads with urgency, deadlines, competition, the implication that someone else is waiting if you hesitate. None of that is present here. The executives speak carefully, they don't oversell, they don't promise prestige, they ask what kind of story he wants to tell and how long he'd like to think about it. You can almost feel the reversal. A year earlier, he would have been negotiating for space. Now space is being offered. This is the quiet confirmation of what the pause accomplished. By stepping back, by refusing to defend status symbols like billing placement, by tolerating silence, by absorbing the discomfort of uncertainty, he's forced the industry to reclassify him. Not as dependable labor, but as an autonomous center of gravity. That shift doesn't come with applause, it comes with something far more telling. Deference. When the meeting ends, no one rushes him, no one asks for a timeline, they thank him for his time. His time. That phrase lingers. Because time was the one thing the system never allowed him to own before. Later, alone in the elevator, he catches his reflection in the mirrored wall. Older, calmer, less armored. The pause didn't make him more powerful in the way Hollywood usually defines power. It didn't inflate his visibility or multiply his projects. It did something quieter and more durable. It returned authorship. Over the next few years, his career will look less busy and more intentional. Fewer appearances, fewer explanations, more influence behind the scenes, more respect in rooms where nothing is written down. And the credit placement, once a source of confusion, will be remembered by those who noticed as the first public sign that something had changed. Not because he wanted less, but because he no longer needed the proof. This is how power actually shifts in Hollywood. Not through confrontation, not through dominance, but through the refusal to keep performing certainty for a system that feeds on it. The pause wasn't an absence, it was a boundary. And boundaries, once drawn, quietly redraw everything around them.